A single shot rang out, slicing through the air and silencing a voice that millions had come to recognize. On September 10th, 2025, at Utah Valley University, Charlie Kirk stood before an eager audience, ready to speak, when his life was suddenly and brutally cut short. In an instant, hope turned into horror, anticipation into chaos, and what was meant to be a day of inspiration became a day of tragedy. The gunfire didn't just claim a life, it ignited a storm of questions, doubts, and suspicions that still linger to this day. If you want to keep up with every detail as we uncover this case layer by layer, make sure you subscribe right now because this is only the beginning. From the very first moment after the gunshot, confusion and fear spread like wildfire. Students, families, and supporters who had come to listen to Kirk's speech ran for cover. Screams echoed across the campus, and within seconds, the event spiraled into panic. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but as news spread, so did speculation. Videos shot on shaky cell phones flooded social media within minutes, and eyewitness accounts poured into news outlets across the country. Each clip and every testimony seemed to paint a slightly different picture of what had just happened. Some swore the shot came from above, others insisted it sounded frighteningly close to the stage. The speed at which these fragmented reports spread only deepened the sense of chaos, leaving the public desperate for clarity, while also sowing seeds of doubt about whether the truth would ever fully come out. Very quickly, law enforcement zeroed in on a suspect. Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old student, was arrested and accused of being the lone shooter. According to officials, Robinson had fired a single round from a rooftop using a high-powered rifle. On paper, the case looked straightforward. He was said to have had political grievances, a troubled personal background, and the weapon that ended Kirk's life. But the neatness of this narrative was exactly what unsettled many. The idea that one young man had so easily carried out such a calculated attack in broad daylight didn't sit right with observers, especially when cracks in the story began to appear almost immediately. Authorities presented what they claimed was clear evidence: surveillance footage placing Robinson near the rooftop, DNA found on the weapon, and a handwritten note allegedly referencing Kirk. But photographs released to the public showed inconsistencies. The angle of the shot, the position of Robinson in certain images, and even the descriptions provided by witnesses didn't match up with the official account. Ballistic experts pointed out that the trajectory of the bullet didn't align with the rooftop shot. Instead, they suggested the angle indicated a much closer and lower origin, a finding that contradicted the narrative being pushed. For many, this was the first major sign that the full truth was being kept hidden, or, at the very least, distorted. The suspicion only grew stronger when key pieces of evidence were withheld. Autopsy reports that could have definitively confirmed the bullet's trajectory were not released to the public. Surveillance footage that should have captured the exact moment of the shooting was either incomplete or mysteriously unavailable. Instead of clarity, there were gaps large enough to make people wonder if something was being intentionally concealed. These missing elements became central to the growing public skepticism, reinforcing the sense that the narrative provided by authorities was, at best, incomplete and, at worst, misleading. Investigators also dug into Robinson's digital history, presenting a troubling picture. His online activity revealed patterns of isolation, anger, and radicalization. Posts and messages painted him as someone consumed by frustration and driven by extremist ideas. Conversations recovered from his personal devices suggested he had entertained violent thoughts in the past. Yet while this evidence seemed damning, it wasn't definitive. To many, it appeared less like a smoking gun and more like circumstantial support. His online anger could explain motive, but it didn't prove he pulled the trigger. Critics argued that this digital trail may have been used to frame him, or at least to shape a story that fit the prosecution's needs rather than the facts. Further complications came from the video evidence. Drone footage and surveillance camera recordings didn't just show the chaos of the crowd, they raised new questions. Some cameras appeared to track individuals in the audience too smoothly, as if deliberately following them rather than capturing random motion. Figures in the crowd shifted positions in ways that seemed suspiciously timed with the moment of the gunshot. At least one individual dressed in white was seen moving their hands in a way that matched the sound of the shot. These details may have been coincidences, but they fueled speculation that the scene was more orchestrated than spontaneous. Eyewitness accounts added yet another layer of complexity. Some described movements in the crowd that suggested decoys or distractions may have been at play. Others insisted the gunfire was too close to have come from a rooftop. The contradictions between what people saw and what authorities claimed created a tangled web of competing narratives. And while witnesses often misremember details and moments of trauma, the sheer number of inconsistencies made it harder to dismiss these doubts as simple confusion. As the case moved into the courtroom, the issues only multiplied. Critical evidence remained sealed, inaccessible to the public and even to some of the defense team. Plea negotiations were whispered about but never fully explained. Oversight committees raised questions about transparency, yet answers from investigators often felt evasive. For many observers, the legal process itself seemed less about uncovering the truth and more about securing a conviction. That perception only deepened public mistrust and made the case symbolic of a much larger issue. How much faith should people place in institutions that appear unwilling to show their hand? Beyond the courtroom walls, the implications of Kirk's assassination reverberated throughout the country. He wasn't just a speaker. He was a political figure with influence, someone admired by many and criticized by others. His death became a lightning rod for division. Conspiracy theories spread quickly, each one fueled by the unanswered questions surrounding the case. Some believed Robinson was framed. Others suspected a larger, coordinated plot. Still others insisted the government was hiding critical truths. Whether true or not, these theories thrived in the vacuum left by missing evidence and half-answers. When you put all these pieces together, the conflicting forensic evidence, the withheld reports, the suspicious footage, the troubling but inconclusive digital trail, it becomes clear that the story of Charlie Kirk's assassination is anything but simple. It is a story full of shadows and contradictions, a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about truth, accountability, and the trust we place in those who claim to protect us. Charlie Kirk's family continues to seek justice. His supporters continue to demand transparency. And the public at large is left with a haunting reality. The one thing we still don't know for certain is who really fired the shot. In the end, this case is about more than one man's tragic death. It is about the cracks that appear when official narratives don't match the evidence, the mistrust that grows when institutions withhold answers, and the urgent need for accountability in a society that depends on it. Until those questions are answered, until the missing pieces are revealed, this story will remain unfinished. And as we continue to search for the truth, remember this: silence and secrecy carry a price no society can afford. Stay informed, keep questioning, and don't forget to subscribe for the updates still to come.